So I'm at Pure Physio Sports in Norwich. Chris has just given me a tour around the facility and caught up with Finn and Chris over lunch there. So we spoke about what's happening in the industry in general, but also at Pure. So it's incredible really what Pure have done for the industry over the last 19 years. It's the 20-year anniversary from when Finn first started his first one in Rotherham. So yeah, I think it's a really impressive company. They've really got good intentions for what they're doing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing. We've been working with them on their tech and education, which has been great. So yeah, hope you enjoy this podcast and let me know what you think. Chris, talk to me, where are we?
Hi Andy, so great to have you down. So we're here at City Road in Norwich. This is our sort of flagship sports injuries clinic here in Norwich. And we'll go inside, have a little look. We've done lots of work in here since 2021 when we came back out of COVID to make this a sort of specialist sports place. And yeah, clinic's going brilliantly, so it'd be great to have a little look in. Come on through. Come on in. And you can see here, we've kind of got an area for the patients to sit, receptionists sit here, and then if you just come around the corner, we've got our wonderful sort of rehab space. So everything in here, we've got some CV equipment for doing gait analysis and all those bits and pieces. And all the rehab stuff that you would want, free weights, we've got a landmine machine, we've got all our different dumbbells, all our balance and proprioceptive equipment, all our resistance bands, and a beautiful little space to do sort of 1-to-1 or up to 1-to-3 small group rehab. Got plans in at the moment to get the whole space, get rid of the reception desk, get the whole space floored, and then we want to really look at doing sort of class-based rehab and other bits and pieces for our clients, and look at start helping the NHS with some of their class-based stuff that they refer people to. So it's come a long way. It's never finished, is it? But yeah, we're ready to go the next step again now.
And in terms of just the philosophy of a sports clinic, how does this differ then to the other clinics that you've got around the country?
Yeah, I think the sports clinics were born out of a desire to reach a certain subset. You know, Pure has done brilliantly in terms of medical legal and looking after sort of private patients, but we really wanted to zone in on those people who increasingly want to be fit for longevity of life, want to maximise their sporting potential. You know, around our county, we've got very much a demographic of sort of people from 40 plus on, so people go and make their money around the country, very successful in business, and then they either work remotely or retire outrightly early to somewhere like North Norfolk. They can get down to London inside of 2 hours with the roadways and the rail. They want to live rurally, but they also want to look after their health. So increasingly we see enduro runners, triathletes, enduro swimmers, and everything in between, of people who just want to manage their health, but not in a way that they just want to come in and get a massage. They want to be strong, they want to correct their imbalances, they want to minimise injury risk, they want to maximise bone density, and they want an experience like an elite professional athlete has, and we want to give that to them. You know, our whole premise is taking people from pain and performance, but bringing professional level treatment, assessment, rehabilitation to anyone and everyone.
Great, good. That's
yeah, so this is one of our treatment rooms. Come on in, Andy. And in here, this is pretty typical for a treatment room you would find in our sports clinics. So got our area to do our assessment and notes. We've got a shockwave machine for sort of our higher end treatments and looking after tendinopathies, some bone injuries, all those kind of extra bits that you would expect to find if you walked into any medical department in a top level sports club. And really key to what we do is dynamometry, so being able to objectively test people, test their muscle strength, look for imbalances, find imbalances and correct them, and keep us accountable to our clients really, because it's great to say, oh yeah, you feel a bit stronger doing an Oxford style manual muscle test, but if you can push 200 newtons 3 weeks ago in pain, and I've given you a program, you're in less pain and you can now push 300 newtons, you know that what I'm doing, or what I'm saying I'm doing, I'm actually doing. So and that internal challenge of being better as a person, people want to see their numbers go up. So it's great to be able to give them that as part of the package of what we do. So this is sort of fairly typical of the way we work. We want to bring people in, we want to help them understand what their diagnosis is, and then we want to help them understand where they're at and what they need to do to get where they want to be. And that's the process we work to. You know, all of our reassessments include reassessments of strength, and we'll move on. You know, we go outside and we'll do jump testing and look at things like reactive strength index and leg-to-leg power deficits, and are they better at absorbing force, are they better at generating force? You know, looking at gait analysis, is there anything we can pick up there from the way they run? You know, sort of all those different things that, again, you would expect when you're trying to churn an elite athlete back into elite sport, but are just as relevant to someone who wants to be a minute quicker on their 5k pace, or wants to be able to kayak for an hour instead of 20 minutes, or any of those things.
So like we're both former IPRS people, so we've worked there, and like in terms of the way that you've seen the industry move forward, like things like, I mean, Dynamometry Valve have done an incredible job with the way that they
really have,
in terms of pushing forward objective testing, because we're both experienced from like the Biodex and BTE side of things, and tech like this, like the Dynamo, Strength by Numbers, the other products that are out there. It's really amazing like how this is being used. So how much do the clients engage with this sort of tech?
Yeah, I think they love it. You know, if you think of your standard runner with their Garmin or their Apple Watch on, is going to tell them their cadence, it's going to tell them their percentage of foot balance, strike. So people are very comfortable with metrics now, and almost, if they're that kind of person, sporty wise, they're a little bit shocked if they come in and they're not getting some form of metric from you, because the world is about metrics. So it's not for every client. Not every client is that interested in it, but those that are and are getting it from other parts of their health life experience, they want it. So, you know, clinics that don't offer some kind of dynamometry or some kind of objectivity nowadays, I think, are missing a market of people who want it. And because it is, you know, like you say, Val have done a great job. You know, their platform, it's so easy to see your progression week by week, month by month, year by year. And, you know, we have clients who've worked with us for a number of years. We've got some, you know, one of our clients, let's take him for example, is trying to complete the World Series of marathons. And he comes at the start of every training block and does like a fingerprint drill. So we'll do some testing and we'll look at where he was on his previous start of blocks. Has he got any deficiency, say in his hip flexor strength or his quad strength? And so we'll try and work on those. So you can take this as far as you want. That's what they're doing in elite sport. You know, players come in pre-season, they get some baseline measures done, they've got years of data to compare that back to. Oh, is there a problem? You know, are you getting older? Are things changing around your body? And you can look and unlock those things that otherwise you missed. If you know, it's an old saying, but if you're not testing, you are guessing. And this gives some objectivity that takes my bias out of it as a clinician and goes, well, 2 years ago you were that, a year ago you're this, now you're this. And we can ask some sensible questions about why those things are happening and find the answers. So, yeah, I think, you know, the game has changed. It's not for every patient. Not every patient wants this. But sports patients generally do, and that's why we have to have it.
Brilliant, great. And Shockwave?
Well, even more so with Shockwave, because I think, you know, the evidence is there. Whatever way you read it, whatever way you look at it, the evidence is there that Shockwave and exercise are a great pair together. And so your Shockwave is going to help manage pain, get someone to a point where they're more able to engage with their rehabilitation. And between the two of them, exercise, loading and Shockwave, we're going to get some physiological adaptation. So, you know, we've just had pre-season for a lot of major sports, particularly football, and we've had a number of athletes come in after a pre-season, maybe not done their off-season work as much as they should have done, got a bit of Achilles soreness, got a bit of plantar fasciopathy, patellar tendinopathy, had a lad in last week with some hip flexor pain. They come in, couple of treatments, their pain is a bit better, program and they're away. And instead of missing the whole of pre-season, something like Shockwave can help us get players out for pre-season. And we know how important a good pre-season is for an athlete. We only got to look at Richarlison at Tottenham. It's the first proper pre-season he's had for years, and suddenly he's on fire scoring goals for fun. So, those things are really important, and something like a Shockwave to manage acute problems is really good, but equally to keep players on the field when they've got niggly, grotty, hamstring insertional tendinopathies mid-season, Achilles, rugby players, they'll be in from October onwards, particularly your forwards who are scrumming down for 20 minutes a game, high tensile loads through those Achilles and through their elbows and shoulders. So, the utility of a Shockwave for managing symptoms and allowing people to stay in competition is just incredible. That's my clinical findings, but the research is there that supports it as well.
Oh, brilliant. And then in terms of just like the wider industry, where do you see things going? Like, things are changing fast in the private world, and Pure are doing a great job across the board in things, but you're basically running the sports side of things. Where do you see the world going in this private space?
Yeah, I watched a post on LinkedIn, I think, the other day saying, you're not getting the right treatment if you're not getting some kind of POCUS ultrasound, some kind of dynamometry, Shockwave at every session. I don't really see that. The industry's changing. Certainly people need to be more objective in what they do. But again, not every patient needs to have that. There is space for patients who just want to come in, get their treatment, aren't that bothered by the numbers, that's fine. But I think you need to have the offer there for those who want it. That's where the industry is going. We've had such a push around physical activity guidelines, around making sure that you don't develop secondary diseases, lifestyle diseases, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular problems, respiratory problems, that you need to be able to offer people who want it the ability to have those assessments that are going to help them keep fit and look after the longevity of their life. And so, I think the industry is only going to go more this way, but I think there needs to be some temperance of it. It can't go totally the other way and you're just charging people a large amount of money for stuff they don't want, but those who want it, it needs to be available for. Does that make sense?
It does. It wasn't us that posted that. That's all our stuff, isn't it? So we if we didn't do it, we should have done it. We should have posted out all that stuff. But no, I think I think you're completely right. Like, you want to be able to offer this stuff, and it's all judgment. Have you got the right personnel to implement it? All of these things.
And I think, my first job out of university wasn't in physio. I was branch manager of a car phone warehouse. Now, not everyone needs a BlackBerry to meet their needs. It's about understanding what someone actually needs and delivering what they need at a cost that is right for them. So you could try and sell a BlackBerry to everyone, but not everyone needs a BlackBerry to do what they do. And I think it's the same here. You've got to see the individual in front of you and offer them what they want or what they need, not what you want, just because it makes your bottom line better. I think that's a moral thing. And I'm not saying lots of people are immoral, but I think, we are, as professionals, we are duty bound to give people what they need, not what fills up our bank balance.
Like it. And then just last question on that then. So I fully agree with that. How do we, I think a lack of conviction sometimes into understanding the tech maybe, and understanding what it can do, what it would work for, is part of that problem.
Yeah. I think, look, there is an education piece which I think you guys do brilliantly well around what will work, what we've seen works, and what this doesn't work for. And I think that just needs to be wider for everyone. It needs to be in universities, need to be teaching about this tech so that they're bringing out clinicians ready to work in the 21st century. It's hard to try and fit everything that you now need to be an all-rounded or a rounded physiotherapist when you graduate. it's hard work, and I appreciate that's a dilemma for our colleagues who work in clinical education, but they need to be able to do manual therapy, but they also need to be able to understand the tech, because if you're going to take your first job in a clinic that's got it, you know, if you can't use it from day one, or you don't have a basic concept of it and they've got to spend weeks teaching you, you're costing the business you're working for money. And look, I work with a ton of NHS colleagues who love to have access to what we have in the private sector, to be able to do better things for their patients. That's a simple reality. So we're very fortunate to have it. But yes, I think students graduating need to be able to understand how to use it, and there is an education piece of them. If the universities aren't going to offer it, which I think they should, then they're going to need to plug in and skill themselves before they come out into the real world of work. Because using these things are like all things. You need to have some understanding of them. They're useless in someone who doesn't understand someone's hands, but they're a great advantage once you know what you're doing with it.
Finn, great to see you. Great to come to your HQ. Very impressive building.
Thank you. Yeah, like me plants.
Do you know what? Well, I haven't seen your office with the creatures you've got up there. So yeah, well, actually tell me about that. I was a little bit taken aback by the snake.
Yeah, python, yeah. Blue-tongued skink, a couple of three tree frogs, and 2 other lizards. Yeah. That's it, and plants.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So is that to close a deal where you get those out?
No. In fact, sometimes I'll do videos for the team encouraging our social event or something with a different animal. The snake doesn't go down as well as other ones, to be honest. But yeah, I enjoy it. I like life, like nature, and I'm not sure what everyone thinks about it, but not everyone needs to come up into that office. So me and Lisa, my EA, is happy with that. So good.
Yeah.
Nice.
I know. Well, I feel privileged that I've seen it. But I mean, it's really interesting. I know we've known each other for a little while now, but seeing you guys are really flourishing, you're growing and developing. So talk to me about what's happened in the last year or so.
So yeah, there's a year ago today, we were with Pure Unity Health. Unity Health Group was our structure. Pure Physio within that. And we had an opportunity to work with a company called ExamWorks, a big UK company, supported internationally, Australia, Canada, America. And I've been working with them in one of their sub-companies called Premex and 3D Rehab since 2008. So we had an opportunity to join them, which happened in late October last year. And that has been fantastic because we've now got a really supportive backer who can sort of bought into our vision of where we want to be, what we want to do, the pride, the passion, the quality service, the expansion in the NHS, in occupational health, in private clinics, independent clinics. They're 100% behind that. Feel really pleased, and they are, as I say, I've been working with them since 2008, so I've known these people for a long, long time. I started in 2006, so it's only 2 years since I started. Really, we've been working with them. So that happened in October. Fast forward to where we are now, we had maybe 20-25 clinics at that point, and we just acquired a really good group of clinics in central London. And when I say acquired, I like to use the word sort of joined with or working with, because I don't see it as acquiring and building things through that. I just see it, if people are like-minded, they've got their own clinic and they want to retire or they want to be part of something bigger. We've had over the years many individuals or groups of people join, but now we're supported by ExamWorks. They can say, look, just be a bit more proactive, be a bit more, get out there and see what's around. So we've now got 50 clinics through organic growth, just our own clinics opening, and through partnerships, other clinics coming on board. And by the end of 2026, so just over a year since they came on board, we'll have about 70 clinics across the country, which is amazing. Really, for me, having set it up in 2006 in one room in Rotherham, which I love to say, we've still got that base in Rotherham, which is fantastic, but we're now in so many other areas, from Newcastle to the tip of Penzance, Carlisle to Kent. It's amazing. So that journey this last year has been amazing. Hard work, lots of things to do, lots of things still to do, expanding the services, looking at other things like podiatry, the shockwave work we're doing with you guys. We've grown from a team of 400 odd to 500 odd within a year. So we've put about 100 extra people in the business, which comes against the backdrop of increasing national insurance and increasing national wage. We've got a huge amount of administrators doing a fantastic job. So all the challenges that come with that, but we're in a really good place, and looking forward to 2026, 2027 and beyond. So it's been a good, that's the catch up. It's been a busy year.
It's amazing. It's great to see it, and we see a lot of stuff on social media, which I love reading it and seeing it. It's always really inspiring, and you can see the team are really passionate, and you've got a really good team here. So for you, as like the founder, you started on your own there. Like, how is it for you, having gone through this almost 20-year period, and like with a new investment, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think I'm extremely excited about where we are now. And I've always been excited. I mean, I love physio. I love the idea that we're there to improve people's lives, whether you're in the NHS, FCP, whether you're a health and wellbeing coach, because we're not just doing physio now, social prescriber, working in private practice, physiotherapy, sports work. We're doing increased amounts of sports work with recreational athletes and elite athletes. That's really exciting. Now we've got someone who can support us in a really meaningful way, with real enthusiasm. The national team at ExamWorks, I feel, are fully behind us. They're as enthused as I am, and there's not many people as enthused as I am about what we're doing in Pure, but they are. And whenever we have meetings with them, I'm going up to Bolton this week, which is where they're based, which is also pride of me, because I like the north. They'll be saying the same thing. What's next? What can we do? How can we help? How can we support? And that is fantastic. And I know there's been even my own experience of investment in the past. It's not been anything like as, what can we do to help you get to where your vision is? It's been much more, what can you give back to us? And so, this is a very, very positive experience so far. And hopefully, certainly me and the leadership team, and hopefully the entire team, are starting to feel some of that investment trickling through in terms of estates being improved, treatment modalities when it comes to things like shockwave. It's not cheap. Other elements like that. The sports investments in sports, the sports clinics we're doing, the training development. We've got 2 full-time training development CPD roles now. We've got a whole platform that sits on, digital platform that sits on, where people can go through courses, all the mandatory training, the investment in that. It's been a really, really good year. So we're setting ourselves up for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years. And this year's been one of, yes, expansion, but also consolidation to allow us to expand. I think it's really exciting. So I'm nothing but positive. And they allow me to go and cycle across France, and a few other things that that I love doing as well. So it's been a brilliant experience. We've got a fantastic team. And one thing I'd say about that is to get to the team we've got now, you need to get 5 or 10 good people, and they then attract 3 or 4 other good people, and before you know it, it generates itself. You've always got the odd person that's not quite right for the organisation, or we're not right for them, and you're not going to get it right all the time either. But we've got a team of 500 odd people who are fantastic, and they all come in hopefully wanting to make a difference to people's lives, having the pride in what they do and the passion to make a difference, and that's what we want. If you don't have that in Pure, I encourage people to just go and do different things. You don't work for us if you don't feel that pride in what you're doing, the passion for what you're doing. There's loads of other jobs out there, no problem. You could be a fantastic person, but we want that value that runs through everything we do, which is being happy, being positive. I say happy, being passionate and proud about what you're doing. Hopefully that makes you happy, if you're passionate and you're pleased with what you're actually achieving for patients. So yeah, that's nothing but positive. And if it was negative, I'd tell you. But I'd tell you not to put it on TV.
Yeah. So like in terms of that mission, like you mentioned that, like what's the mission and vision? In terms of that, what is that, and has that changed in the last year as well?
Do you know, it's interesting that the values, the company values, we've got some really strong company values, and for me that pride and passion, which is my favourite one of there's 6 of them, and each one's a sort of double word, but the pride and passion for me is my go-to. We've always had it since I was day one, before qualified. I've loved training as a physio at Hertfordshire. I love being a physio, junior physio in rotations in Sheffield. I've loved all the different things I've done. And I never wrote it down. That's some of our values. And as we've got bigger, we had a brilliant HR director called Kat, who's moved into education now. But she was saying, we write all these things down. I was like, Kat, this is a bit, not sure about all this. And we wrote it all down. And I said, yeah, they're exactly what we do. And we now talk about it more. And I'm so pleased we did. And I think as you grow, if you don't articulate some of this stuff to your team, They don't know what's in your head. So me thinking, I'm proud of this, I'm passionate about that, and they might see me talking about it, but it's not as clear to a large number of people as it should be. So having that written down has been brilliant, and the change has been zero, because we always had that. It's just we weren't talking about it. It was in my head, and I was hopefully appearing proud and appearing passionate, but we weren't articulating that as clear as you could be. So the change for me has been just the scale that we are now, astronomical compared to what we were in 5-10 years ago. It'll be 20 years next year that we set up Pure, or I set up Pure. And the change in our values, I don't think they have changed at all. It should be affordable for people to use, it should be good quality, it should be evidence-based, we should be proud and passionate about what we're doing. Those things haven't changed. What's changed is that we've now seen, including NHS work, maybe 110,000 patients a month now. And that's insane, whereas we didn't see 10 or 15 or 20 when it first started. So we're treating way over 1 million people a year across Pure Unity Health, we now call it the group. And that's amazing. But hopefully with the same values and the same approach that we had then. And as we scale, it's harder to maintain that. But having things written down helps. Having a learning platform and a team that are encouraging people, and team leads that encourage people. One of the things we're really keen to do is not to have 20 physios managed by one person. So each one of our team should have no more than 6 people that they're looking after. So if you're a senior team lead, or if you're responsible for looking after some of your team, you'll have no more than 6 people that are reporting to you, and then they'll have 6 people reporting to them. So we never want you're just a number. You're 110 and you're reporting to this number 3 and they're reporting to number 1, and they should be that you've got very tight groups of teams that know each other, and as we scale, we just add more to it, but it's still a team with a responsible person looking after the well-being and development of those 6 people underneath them, and it's worked really well. We've had people progress from administrators through into senior operations roles, from junior physios to PhDs. Fantastic. Day one working with us post-graduation, right way through to publishing papers. Ben Bradford's a great example here in Norfolk. Published a really great paper this year on the first contact physio work we're doing. Over 2,700 people involved in that trial. It's going to be in Pulse PCN soon, which is a big primary care publication. Just brilliant. He came to us as his first job for Princeton University, and is now deputy team lead across the whole of East Anglia, looking after 60,000 patients a month. But we're looking after 6. Next person looking after 6. So it's that hopefully human touch that we want to retain, not just a machine that you plug in at the top and at the bottom comes money. We don't want that at all. I want to see machine with everyone's got a really important part, and the outcome is clinical quality. We're doing a good service which we can proud of and feel passionate about.
Yeah, a couple of points there that I think is really interesting. I think it's great. Like when you're, say, taking on the company that you mentioned in London, how do you make sure that it does align value-wise with you, and then how do you maintain it bring it into your ecosystem? It's a great question, and it's an interesting answer. So Tash, the lady that set up and developed, it's called Celtra Health Clinics in London, and it's old news now because it happened last year, so I can talk about it freely. Fantastic physio, absolutely proud. If you ever meet her, the passion, the pride is you can see it as soon as she walks in the room. Crazy like me, but full of beans, full of ideas. Great clinician, very, very viscerally passionate about doing a good job. Really clear. When you meet someone like that, you think that this person probably would fit well with what we're trying to do. And also realises, like I do, I'm not the best business person in the world. She's not the best business person in the world. You need to surround yourself with other people who are good, that can support you in that, and other clinicians, non-clinicians. So when I first started talking to Tash, it was clear that you don't want to drown as a clinician in the stuff that's non-clinical, so chasing invoices, marketing, HR elements, estates maintenance. And you went into physio to be a physio, you went into sports to do sports, you went into whatever you do to do that job, not to do all the other things. I love all the other things, actually, but I still want to be a clinician, and Tash still wants to be a clinician. So recognising that synergy was really easy, and all the, if you want, acquisitions or partnerships we've created over the last 15 years, certainly 10 years, we've done quite a lot, have been of a similar ilk, so a similar sort of, whether it's the individual who's got that pride and passion and they want to stay in, or it's the individual that
has got a team, they want to step out, retire, for example, but the team's got that pride and passion. Great, they're the people we want to work with. So the synergy was really good in all the acquisitions, London particularly. And then what can we do to help? So there's no point bringing someone on and not really offering anything to their team, in my opinion. So hopefully improving the marketing, leveraging what we've got, a great marketing team, the websites, the CPD, the training. They've got some amazing physios at Central Health, a lot of university lecturers, a lot of super experienced physios. How can we nationally get benefit from people that are experts in hypermobility, or experts in women's health, or experts in chronic wrist pain, or whatever it might be? So we end up with this ecosystem of far more knowledge as a whole, as opposed to just our own organic elements where we're going to only look at what we're already doing. So it's been a real eye-opener to me acquiring or partnering with these other organisations, because hopefully we both benefit. And to touch wood, we've not had any partnership acquisition that's gone wrong. It's been brilliant. They've all been brilliant. Fantastic one in Cornwall a few years ago. Absolutely brilliant, fantastic New Zealand physio who is retired, is enjoying his life, but his team's absolutely still there working with us and as one. And the administration team work across the whole country, so they become as one, and it's nice to see. So it's not been a challenge. We're in the process of refreshing the brand at Central Health, which I shouldn't talk too much about, but that's really exciting. And they're excited. Went down to see them. Tim, our marketing director, was talking to them. What do you think about this idea, this idea? So they're part of that journey. We're not just saying, now it's this, now it's this, now it's this. It's way more collaborative. I think it'd be mad to go into a business, bring them on board, and then change everything about the business that you thought was good in the first place. And I see it happen. I think, why would you do it? So we want to go into the business, keep everything that's good. We can learn loads of things from those businesses, big or small, and then what can we do together to leverage that benefit? And that is what, so far, again, touch wood, we're seeming to do quite well. And we don't want to lose that, my slightly bonkers approach, other people's bonkers approach, as well as the logical people thinking, how can we fit this all together to make it sustainable and grow? And ultimately, yes, definitely break even, make some money, because nothing works unless you're being viable. If you don't value yourself, I did a good, I think it was okay with Jack Chew recently. I did a piece for his MSK magazine around, valuing yourself as clinicians, and we don't necessarily do that all the time. We talked earlier on today about the shockwave and how do you price some of these things, and the time, the experience, the investment, the infrastructure, the HR, the training, everything that goes with it. We have to try and price that into a figure, which is kind of impossible to do, to say to a customer, this is what all this together condensed down for half an hour, that's what it's worth. It's a really difficult thing to do, and I've been really bad at it, and maybe still not particularly good at it. And I look at some businesses who are priced really quite ambitiously, but good on them, and they're making that work. And I think we need to be moving up. The industry doesn't need to move down; it needs to move up to represent the great work that we've put in, the hard work we've put in to get to where we are. And Central Health do that well as well, and you can learn all the time.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, and I fully agree that we need to push everything up. The whole industry needs to go up on that, and I can even hear the way you talk about stuff. You're very keen to say, look, clinical comes first, which is true. But then, if the money doesn't come with it, you've not got a business.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a job, and patients can't get better.
I'm going to give no examples. Well, I'll give some examples of this without any names. It is absolutely fundamental. If you set up a private practice or whatever business it is, if it doesn't generate enough money for you to have a living, and the people within the business to have a living and pay the mortgage and go on holiday, and cover all the bills, you shouldn't have it. And I've seen some really, really sad examples in the last year or two where businesses, individuals have come to me just asking for advice. This is my business, this is my physio practice or whatever it is. Would you be interested in perhaps investing and acquiring it? And I've discussed it with them. And it's massively loss-making. They're doing 70 hours a week work in the business. They're taking maybe £20,000 a year for doing that work, and they're working every hour. They're doing all the painting, decorating, cleaning, marketing, treating 80% of the patients, and they're just it's loss-making pretty much. If you took their wage out and put in two £40,000 wages or whatever, £30,000 wages to do that job, it makes a massive loss. So recognising the viability, how you build that thing, business or physio, whatever it might be, to be viable is crucial. And a lot of people don't do it particularly well. And I think it's hard as a clinician because it's hard to distill all that stuff I said before, the training, the experience, into 50 quid or whatever decision it is that you get to, 100 quid, 40 quid, 20 quid, whatever. And unfortunately, we are in the position at the minute as physios, MSK, where we're valuing ourselves far less than we should be. When we impact everything, we impact whether there's pain, whether you can exercise, whether you can move properly, whether you can function, whether you can work. But then we're saying, well, it's whatever, 30 quid a session. And we can't afford to be doing that if we want to invest in our teams and invest in our organisations to grow and be sustainable and deliver the quality. You know, if you're just delivering useless information or useless stuff on a regular basis for peanuts, it's just not, it helps no one. So yeah, and I think a part of our success has been trying to bring this a little bit more up over time, trying to use that money to reinvest in the training development, look very much at the evidence base, but it's not easy. And a lot of people, not just in physio, I'm sure there's probably stats around businesses failing all the time, but when you're passionate about something, passion on its own and pride on its own isn't going to mean a successful business necessarily. It's got to be linked to other things. Hopefully we've got the balance right here.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of sales, like, you know, we're a sales company essentially, but you're the best salesperson for one of the best. You are
for lizards, reptiles.
Yeah, no, but you are, because you're so passionate about it. And I know that you say you've got to have the business side of it, but first of all, you've got to believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's massively missing in a lot of stuff out there. That it is. I mean, in general, it's people love what they do, and that's why they got into doing this line of work. But then I think for some of it, it is a bit lost in terms of the conviction, certainly around, say, doing shockwave or other extra things. Whereas you just absolutely believe in Pure, you believe in the industry.
Yeah, I think that's why you've got to understand. So take shockwave, for example, and we were talking around. I still work clinically every Monday. I do a clinic every Monday, which half of my, increasing numbers of my team tell me I shouldn't be doing it, but I insist on doing it. Same price as every other physio that works for us. That's it. That's what it is. But so, you know, I understand the evidence behind shockwave. Do I understand it as well as I should? No. And actually, if I understood it better, would I integrate it more into my approaches? Definitely. Same with any sort of, you know, exercise therapy, manual therapy, advice, education. You know, some of the electrotherapy, such as shockwave, is probably the best example of a evidence-based electrotherapy as we currently stand. But unless you understand the evidence, you can't get passionate about it. I don't want to get passionate about something. You know, I've got a special carrot you can rub on your leg, and that'll make your legs feel stronger. You know, or some weird vibrating thing. The little, you know, the evidence behind it is a bit tricky. Can I say to someone, you should go and buy this, you should go and do this? Not really. Whereas if I've got the evidence to support something, then I can say, right, this is what you need to be doing alongside this, and this. And so, being informed and using that, linking that experience and education, and then allowing that information to go to the patient is a dream. And if you can't sell to someone why they should be more active, or why they should eat less or smoke less or drink less and do more exercise, then we're in the wrong game. We're all in healthcare. We're all salesmen or salespeople, saleswomen, because we're trying to sell something that's going to change their lives. If you're a surgeon and you did a heart transplant, extreme example, and you didn't say to him, right now, Smith, you've also got to try and keep an eye on your diet, try and do a bit more exercise, go to cardiac rehab, all these things. If you just said, that's it, done, see you later, do what you want, smoke, drink, 10 burgers a day and don't get out of bed, there's an element of sales to say, this is why you should do this positive thing. And to be that positive and that, you know, encourage people to do it, you've got to be enthusiastic. If you're just rolling off a droll old, and not everyone's great at this, but you know, some fantastic surgeons perhaps aren't necessarily the best enthusiastic because they spent how many years doing it and they're absolutely exhausted because they're in surgery for 12 hours a day, and I don't blame them. But you know, getting that sell across is so important, because that's what we're ultimately getting people to change their lives, and we can't change their lives for them. Heart surgeon aside, we're trying to get them to elements of what they're doing to change their lives as well as what we do.
Yeah, no, I fully agree on that. And just in terms of the state of the industry, there's been loads of change. Like, you've been way advanced in terms of the FCP type world, the NHS. Like, where do you see the industry going?
So this is really exciting. I think at the minute I'm right in the middle of this. The NHS long-term plan was published a couple of months ago now, and a neighbourhood plan was published as well at the same time, or a week or so afterwards. And more detail come out on this in September and October of this year, 2025. which will say, right, rather than a 5-year plan, NHS plan, which is what the last one was, 5-year plan, this is a 10-year plan. So if Wes Streeting and his team are staying ambitious as they should be, hopefully it'll say, right, this is the funding. It's not going to be 1 year funding at a time. It's going to be 5 or 10 year funding, so you can genuinely invest in a long-term plan, which means, take physio, for example, take falls, right? I had a fantastic meeting this morning with a great ICB locally, with people there looking at frailty. So if you had someone that you could look at a GP system and say, right, we've got 200 people here that are frail on different levels of frailty, mild, moderate, severe. Let's keep it simple. Moderate frailty means that they're more at risk of falling, they're more at risk of osteoporosis because of X, Y, and Z. They're less active, they're more socially isolated, more depressed, more polypharmacy. As a physio, in a first contact role, we can triage that through and say, right, we've got X number of patients that are moderately frail. If we assess their balance and we signpost them to falls clinics in the community, whether they're run by charities or NHS or private organisations, independent organisations, they can all be commissioned by the ICB, Integrated Care Board. Then we reassess them a year later on, and we might have saved, I don't know, 10 people from falling. If we then look forward, those 10 people falling, 8 of those could have had a fractured hip. 4 of the fractured hips may never have recovered properly and gone into nursing homes, which is about 60 grand a year for a local authority. X number of those would have had, multiple infections, required revisions of. So you end up getting to the point where, to assess the value of the intervention you're doing as a first contact physio and the falls clinic that works with them, that pathway, if you want, in the community, it costs 100 quid for a patient to go through that system, let's say, versus looking far enough to say we've saved 500 grand from that intervention on all the costs that would have occurred if we didn't help to reduce the risks here. So I think the future for MSK, whether it's physios, or particularly physios because I'm biased, but physios, sports therapists, osteopaths, doctors, nurses, everyone working in that sphere, the opportunity for them going forward is enormous, because not only is enormous if the NHS recognise to see the value of the intervention we put in. It's yes, you get an immediate benefit. The person might not come back to primary care because they feel a bit more independent and they maybe knock some of the medication on the head that they didn't need. Maybe they feel a bit happier, so they talk to the neighbour and the neighbour feels a bit better and they advise the neighbour, why don't you get active, why don't you go for a walking group, and everything starts to pick up from that. That's great. You can kind of measure some of that, not all of it. But to longer term, we're saving thousands, if not millions, if not billions of pounds to society. And then there's the whole employment bit. So lots of discussion now around if one of the biggest reasons people don't work is because of musculoskeletal problems. Musculoskeletal problems, mental health, biggest reasons people don't work or struggle to stay in work. If we can improve that musculoskeletal resilience, coincidentally it has a knock-on benefit to mental health as well, and vice versa, then we can improve the employability of that individual. They feel happier, they stay at work, they bring money in for the treasury, everyone wins. But to invest in that, you've got to change the system. And that's why I'm hoping when the detail comes out, that they are going to be ambitious and they are going to link health and social care and employability. So right, there's the pot of money. We want to see more proactive rather than reactive. And that's those words are used in the plan now, proactive rather than reactive. The demand is massive. How it's funded is unclear. And the private or independent support to that will be huge. Whether it's funded by the government structures or whether it's individuals thinking, I want to live a better life, I want to live healthier and happier for longer. I just don't want to live an extra 20 years and be miserable. I want to be able to do stuff for 18 of those 20 years and enjoy my life maximally. So I think the future for musculoskeletal management in an independent sector is very, very bright. We've got to make sure it's well communicated, it's clear, it's transparent in terms of what you're getting. There's no twisted pelvises and leg length discrepancies causing all the problems in the world. That is not real. What it is probably inactivity, deconditioning, fear avoidance, pain avoidance. We're well positioned to help that. Aging population, people want to live healthier for longer. Come and see us.
It's really exciting, and because you are in that private and also do some NHS work as well, what role do you see Pure will play within that?
One of the interesting things with we see about 90,000 patients a month in the NHS. It is a million people a year. It is enormous. 15, maybe towards 20,000 patients a month privately, and that is growing all the time. What I envisage, I don't see, there's not massive difference in some ways between what we're trying to achieve in the NHS and what we're trying to achieve in private practice, which is which is those things, improving people's lives, keeping them healthier for longer, reducing pain, reducing fear. How they address that is often quite different. And what we're able to deliver, I suppose, in a private model is a 5-star, ideally 5-star. So you can have the advice, education. If you want reassurance and come back in and run through a rehab program and go through a course of exercise within a gym setting or within a clinic setting, you can do that too. The door's never closed, which in an NHS structure, it's harder to retain an open door policy because you'd just be swamped. So there is synergies, but there's also differences which I think will be impossible to fully reconcile, because if you want to pay for a service, you'll be able to pay for a service. The NHS has a finite amount of money. They do a great job with what they've got. Can they distribute that more effectively? Without doubt, I think yes. I think Lord Darty would agree with me, or I agree with him. Secondary care, bring it into community care, bring it into primary care, trying to intervene earlier. And again, as physios, that's what we're trying to do, get in early, advice, education, change the lifestyle a little bit. Not just physios, health and wellbeing coaches, nurses, doctors. This lifestyle medicine is a bit of I don't know if it's fair to say a revolution at the minute, but this lifestyle medicine is massive. There's loads of programs on TV, there's loads of great influencers talking about it, and it's true, it's not like a fad, it's reality. So I'm excited about how the two things can work together. We are independent, so the NHS work we do is as Pure Unity Health, it's as an independent. There's loads of independent organisations working collaboratively with the NHS for decades and decades and decades to support the great work that they're doing. And I think that's to be welcomed. Would I want to see intensive care units run by Pure Unity Health? No, never. The NHS does things phenomenally well. Can we support in certain areas? And MSK is a great area, I think. Community, primary care, phenomenal area where we can get the scale benefit that we've got and offer something that's hard to replicate on a small scale in local practices or PCNs. Leverage on the benefit of the training and development we've got from the private practices. They're symbiotic. Yeah, that's how I see it.
No, it's really exciting stuff. And so when we chat again in a year's time, what's one thing that you say, right, we're going to have done that, and that's a bit
definitely get at least one more snake. My wife would I wouldn't have a wife at that point. I'm limited out, by the way, on reptiles. So if you come back and there's any more reptiles, then
you've already got too many in my book.
Yeah, well, yeah, and in hers as well. Yeah. In a year's time. So the long-term plan will have been the publication around the detail will be out there. We'll be moving to a different model, if not already have moved to a bigger primary care commissioning structure within localities, which I welcome. I think we'll have probably 130 clinics maybe privately. We'll be looking at much more of the continuing, I suppose, the investment in the estates, in the quality of the staff, the training for the staff, the well-being of the staff, which has become a big element, and we can see it paying dividends. So we're fully invested in that. We've got a great HR team, again supported by ExamWorks, helping to develop that as well, which is brilliant. But hopefully, I'd like to say more of the same, because on a slightly bigger scale, we don't want to take over the world. We don't want to gobble everything up. We're not capable. We don't want to. It's not what we want to do. There's fantastic, and I said earlier on, fantastic independent practices out there doing brilliant jobs who will only ever be independent, and they should stay that way, and they're doing a great job, and that's brilliant. I never want to talk down the profession or the professionals within it, but hopefully we'll be doing a bit more of the same, hopefully a bit better as we keep learning, developing. We don't want to dilute from the humanity of it, or the 1 to 6, or the structures, the foundations, the values that we have. But our trajectory, hopefully, is really optimistic. We see MSK growing, we see our ability to help to support that growing, and we see our collaboration with the NHS growing. So it's more of the same good stuff is what I'd say.
Yeah, no, all your stuff always looks great, so well done for doing everything you're doing. You always only hear good things, whether it's online or in person, so well done doing everything, and good luck with the next phase. Appreciate it.
We're not going to get everything right, I'm well aware of that, and people listen and watch might think, but I know we're not going to get everything right. We try our best, genuinely try our best, and I think a lot of the time we get it right, and we're trying harder to get the best we possibly can all the time. But yeah, thank you. It's been a bit of a wild. So next year, 20 years. It's been a wild 20 years. Hopefully for another certainly 10 years, I'll be able to crack on, and then hopefully pass the baton to someone who's equally enthusiastic, or people, because we've got a whole team of them, so I don't know what will happen there. Maybe 20 years, you never know, I might do another 20 years, but it's exciting.
Brilliant. No, Finn, well done with it, and I'll look forward to hearing the next phase on 20 years.
Thank you.